To this story now, 2 refugees are behind bars in Cape Town after clashing with police. A group of them had set up camp in the city and refused to be moved. They relocated to the area after they were relocated from the area, I should say, after a court ordered that they be removed from the Central Methodist Church. To discuss this, I'm joined by the city's Safety and Security MMC, that's JP Smith. Mr. Smith, thank you very much for your time joining us via Skype there. Where did the refugees spend the night, particularly the mothers and children?
So can I just say some clarity? They were not relocated out of the Methodist Church. The ones who were inside the Methodist Church were not affected by the court order. It was the ones that were outside on the sidewalk. They were removed in terms of the court order from the Methodist Church. Then a group of them attempted to invade the St. Mary's Church, who then laid trespassing charges, and they were removed from there. And then a group set up in Mackenzie Street Park, from where they were removed yesterday morning, which led to some of the conflict. And following that, the South African police got involved last night until late. There were meetings with the South African police trying to understand how to respond to the group now, with the South African Human Rights Commissioner becoming involved again, because after he had previously walked away from the conflict, saying that he was withdrawing his services to them. So at the moment, some confusion as to where to go next. That will be resolved hopefully today, 1 o'clock, when they meet, and various national DGs are coming down. Hopefully Department of Home Affairs, because this is their core responsibility and they should be taking responsibility for it. All
right. It's interesting that you mention the involvement of the Human Rights Commission again, and that leads me to my next question. Are you satisfied with the manner in which the ones that were on the sidewalk that you say were the ones who were removed? Are you satisfied with the manner in which they were handled? We saw lots of scuffles yesterday. The police, how they carried out that particular process. Are you satisfied?
I think the fact that we managed to do it without injuries was encouraging. Remember, Sunday's operation had all the possibility for a great deal of conflict, and that was done without any physical injury and only the exchange of some angry words. So all things considered, Sunday went extremely well. Yesterday, the group that was at Mackenzie Park ramped up that conflict, as well as that Sunday night at St. Mary's Church. So they are a group who is trying to make this extremely difficult. They understand what the court order says, but they are, I think, believe that if they're determined, they will get their way. Whereas most of the refugees at this stage have given up and are slowly but surely finding accommodation or returning to the homes they were in October last year.
Yeah. Their fear of xenophobic attacks, should they be reintegrated into local communities in Cape Town. Have you taken some time, JP Smith, to investigate whether these fears are well-founded?
Yes, we have, and remember, in Cape Town, it was not like Johannesburg. Johannesburg had legitimate and serious xenophobic attacks, which you could point at, and there was some evidence thereof. In Cape Town, no such evidence exists. We did not have any xenophobic attacks, and there's no police record, no CAS numbers, nothing like that to indicate that there was xenophobic violence. So at this stage, those fears, we do not believe, are grounded in a reality, and therefore it also makes it impossible to activate the Disaster Management Act and to activate that funding. So even had the court said that other accommodation needed to be supplied by us or provincial government or national government, and I must emphasize, none of those spheres of government volunteered to get involved despite repeated requests. They all stayed far away from the problem, trying to palm this off on local government. None of us would have had a legal mechanism to provide those accommodation and services, aside from the extremely problematic precedents it would then set in terms of tens of thousands of other refugees who would reasonably be able to claim the same care against the backdrop of hundreds of thousands of people on waiting lists for accommodation in Cape Town and many more across the rest of the country.
Yeah. Just as a final question to you, you've mentioned that the refugees concerned do not qualify for emergency shelter, and you also state quite clearly that the presence of refugees in the country is the responsibility of national government. What's your next step?
So we'll meet today with the various national departments. We're hoping that they're going to come to the table with a clear understanding of their mandate as enshrined by the Constitution, and that they'll have a plan ready. From our side, we are, as we were in the past, ready to assist with relocation and reintegration. That was always the offer. We made those services available twice before the court order was given effect to, months before the court had asked anybody to do anything or compelled them. We had made those services available, and we remain committed to assisting people. But that assistance cannot take the form of taking responsibility for their welfare, because that is not financially viable, nor is it feasible against the backdrop of what we at this stage are required to do for South Africans who are on waiting lists for years. So I'm afraid we're going to have to see how national government responds today at 1 p.m. with that meeting.
Yeah. A quick question, JP, before I let you go, on a completely separate matter. Yesterday we were reporting about the murder of yet another child in the Western Cape, Reagan Gertze. What exactly is going on in the Western Cape, and how are you dealing with the murder of young children at the hands of parolees?
So this is something that grieves us a great deal, because it's something we've been talking about for years. I mean, I think for the past 5-6 years. Myself specifically, as MACO member of Safety and Security, we've been talking about the crisis with parole, with the fact that the Department of Correctional Services, now under the court interdict, around overcrowding because they have failed to adequately build enough prison space to keep up with population growth, are releasing large numbers of people prematurely and frequently. So I go to a police station meeting and the station commissioner says, well, I used to see about 80 people a month reintroduced. I'm now seeing 400 people. It's destabilizing my communities and driving violence. So we are seeing people who totally should not be on the streets being released. And both politically and as an administration, we have expressed ourselves on that. And through the provincial government, we have now initiated a research process to go and see exactly how bad the situation is and to start pointing out to everybody the causal relationship between the release of people prematurely and the spate of violence that it is driving. We are going to have to urgently review our parole system, and the Department of Correctional Services and others are going to have to rapidly review their policies around this.